Thank you very much, Melly. Yes, we are back here at the main stage, and just behind me, Kazna crew and CPlay are preparing to go head-to-head. The question is, can Kazna crew shake the monkey off their back? You know the one I'm talking about, the one always falling short when it comes to these LAN tournaments. They've been such a strong force all season, and they're hoping to continue that with a strong run here at the finals. CPlay, on the other hand, obviously their first finals here. I spoke to Travers earlier on, and he really did say that it's anyone's game, especially amongst the 4 teams playing today. It could be anyone's match. But with that first game out of the way, let's have a look at the bracket and see where we are at so far. Obviously, you can see that that first game went in favour of School Bus. And now we're moving straight into the second game of our brackets. Obviously, we'll be following the winners and losers bracket games respectively, so keep your eye out for those ones. But, of course, the real story right now, Kazna crew going up against CPlay. Let's pass it over to our analyst desk and see what Dorschen and the boys have for us.
This is a more interesting one. As Mitch pointed out, Kazna have been a little bit cursed when it comes to the offline events. They haven't really won anything, but they've always been there. They've always been in the top few. So it's one of those questions. What can Kazna do? Sistel, what can they do to win this? What do they need?
I think they don't need anything. They just have to play their game. They were practicing a lot. They trained and scrimed with the best teams, and they have a really strong team with solid solo skills. So they should win this. They've
actually reinforced themselves with extra players over the time. But first of all, let's focus on their opponents. Not TCM, we just saw TCM.
Yeah, my friend.
CPlay. CPlay are a newish team on the scene. They're not really old hands. There's not really that many players who've been around forever there. It's relatively new compared to some of the ones they're going up against. What can we expect from them?
So I expect that the command from Raster, because he's the captain. He's really ranked, but he have experience from the WCG German qualifiers. He played against you, Schnitzel, probably, if I'm right. And also the part of the team, like Toyer, like other guys, already were in the events, and they already, you know, were the parts of the Golden League teams, or they go for what good teams. They were screaming a lot, and this is what my dear friend Snip told, that CPlay was one of the hardest training teams, and they really, you know, make this effort to start the season badly, but rebound and be here. And this is a really, you know, it's like Lemming train style. So I think they will really play good. I hope, in my opinion, that CPlay will win with Kazna. Kazna will be too sure.
Okay, so let's find out who the new kids on the blocks are and meet CPlay.
Playing in Germany itself is obviously an advantage for the home team because, as you could see in Warsaw, the crowd is more cheering for the team they already know and players they already know. So it gives you like a boost because you know that the people actually want you to win because you're coming from the country itself as them.
I think it is an advantage because we just feel more comfortable playing in our own country where we are used to everything.
Going into this tournament, we increased our trainings. We trained, like I said, 5 times a week for about 3 hours. And the last few days, we organized a few double trainings and we refined everything to make sure that all our tactics were known. So we came into this tournament as prepared as possible. What makes us special is 2 things. We are one of the younger teams. It is our first season. It's quite impressive that we qualified in our first season. And the second thing is the creativity, because we bring new tactics to the game, and then other teams use these tactics, so we set an example and we don't go by copying other teams, but we do our own stuff, our own thing.
We just create special stuff which no team has ever played before, and this is a reason to cheer for us.
Well, that is CPlay, a very new team, and we cannot wait to see what they can do. But they have been playing in Season 4. We've already judged their ability to play. So let's have a look at the stats they have for this season, Season 4. Aggressiveness, quite aggressive compared to a lot of the teams here in the European Season 4. They've been pretty good over the time. And creativity, really high, unexpected of what no one knew what they were going to do. They were relatively new. People haven't really been studying them, not really paying them much attention. So it's been really good creativity, decent accuracy, decent fight coordination, but maybe a little bit lacking decision making.
Yeah, let's start with the aggressiveness. They started the season really campy. They didn't play that aggressive, but after the first 4 games, they started to make more decisions, started to play more aggressive, and then they started to kick in. It was like they lost the first 5 games or 4 games in a row, and then they won the rest. So it was a nice story in the season, like first lose all and then win everything. So of course they have been training a lot, so let's see if they can win everything.
Yeah, actually, I get the evil looks here from Carmen as I was about to make the conjunction that his team did the absolute reverse. Started off strong and then lost cohesion as the season goes on.
You know, it's always hard to tell that the worst start from some of the teams is, you know, kick on the ass and to train harder. And it worked for the guys from CPlay. In our case, this season was completely awful, but I don't want to talk about it.
That's okay, we don't want to hear it.
The only thing I want to tell is that CPlay looks like old lemming train, which was kicking in the ass in the beginning, and then after the middle of the season, because we have the two times to play each other, and after the second round, it was always lemming train high. This one, in this case, we have high CPlay, so I hope they will share our story.
So it sounds like they're a little bit of a favorite of yours.
Yeah, I really like the guys because they're young, but still they have a really, really good attitude to the game, and they're really respectful for all other teams. And I think it's really good for them.
Okay, so now let's talk about their MVP powered by Razer. It is Ruster. Now, what can we tell you about Ruster?
Well, that's easy. Rasta was in my team, so I know him the most. He's a very creative man. He creates tactics no one else knows. He's playing tournaments like forever. He was in Cologne several times, so he's feeling really comfortable here.
Really comfortable. So what sort of things can we expect from him? Individual style. So although he, as you said, is a really thinker, he's a strategist for the team, I assume?
Yes, and he's still a pretty good 1390 driver. He knows, gets on the most important positions because he really wants to win the game for his teams.
So he's actually quite a rare situation where he's not only the captain, the call maker, but he's also on the front line in a very stressful situation.
Exactly.
Does that ever cause him problems?
Sometimes he is overwhelmed by his own plays, so he overextends a bit and loses some matches.
And that can happen to the best of us. If you've ever been commanding a small team or even trying to win that pub by typing as much as you can and being the commander, you can often find yourself not controlling your tank as good as it can be. What do you think the advantages and disadvantages of playing like Ruster as the frontline commander, making the shots and being in one of the more important tanks?
Well, I personally like to lead from the front, so play like Ruster. It's much easier to coordinate the fight when you're inside the fight, but at the same time, the best teams in the world, like Virtus.pro and Navi, they have the commander in the T1, so he can concentrate only to lead the team and make the calls. So if the fight is really intense, you might lose some calls when you're in the middle of the fight. So there is a disadvantage, but that's just a personal preference.
Only one strong opinion that Navi is not like that. Navi is always have the Deluxe as a commander, really, but the Levsha is always commanding in the fight of tier 8. If it comes to hard fight, Levsha is commanding, telling who to shot, and also they have Power Slide, and Power Slide is completely different guy, completely different level than the other guy. But they are commanding in the style like T1 is making decision in general, but on the fights, tier 8, it's Levsha, and this I think is the best system ever, and we see this more and more often.
Yeah, but that's true for many teams, that there is the one guy that makes the big picture and then the ones that make the calls in the fights.
Yeah, that's true, but not always, Koritz is like, he's on the T1, but then he dies and he commands guys from, but we will get to this probably
Well, my
tomorrow.
personal opinion of a team like Navi, if people out there don't know, Navi are the guys who are #1 in the world. They won the grand finals. They are the top of the Russian Gold Series. They won the Season 4 that just passed. So these guys are a guy to copy. But they actually do have Jolux calling the shots during the fights. And the rest of the players are more individual. You don't actually hear Lashar talking too much during the fights. It is really much more like School Bus. Like, once the fights start, you get Jolux given the overarching, what he wants them to achieve, and the individual players just do it without talking, almost without talking. It's quite scary when you listen to their team speak while they're in the fight.
Yeah, but still Levsha is telling at the beginning of the fight what is to focus and what is the rules. So this, okay, it's not like straight what in other European teams that, it's a bit more talking between the guys on the tier 8s and the commanding of the tier 8s. But in case of Levsha, yeah, they are so strong, they are playing so many times together that it's like this. I just hope that any European team can, be on this level.
Well,
beat
it's
them.
only time will tell as new teams like CPlay come up and they decide that they're going to copy the bigger teams or create their own new style. We can only find out. But their opponents in this matchup, Kazna crew, it's not the traditional Kazna crew as everyone knows, the cursed Kazna crew who've never won anything. They actually have swapped around many of their members. Still Mojo, who's now on TCM, and Elian from Lemming Train. How has that affected their performance this season?
I think their performance is like way better since they changed the roster, but they still lack a bit of training because they play too much Clan Wars. So they sometimes skip training to play Clan Wars, and that's really affecting them a bit.
Okay, well, let's find out who the Kazna crew are these days. Let's meet them.
You always need to have some special things up your sleeve for opponents. You just work hard and prepare almost every single day with your team.
Training is probably the most important thing, especially the team training, considering, in my opinion at least, that you can't improve that much as individual as you can improve as a team. Everybody needs to breathe as one. Mistakes are paid pretty highly, they cost teams a lot. So the more you play as a team, the better you will be. That's 100% sure.
So I'm Elian from Kazna crew. I'm nominated for the most valuable player of the league. Thank you for voting on me, and I hope I won't disappoint you.
Kazna crew is winning the Season 4 finals because they are turns at it, and it's time to make that happen.
So if CPlay were the new kids on the block, the old guys around are Kazna crews. They have so much experience. And let's have a look at what we rated at them during Season 4. So not so much aggressiveness. Kazna crew are a bit of a more passive team. They don't seem to be being so proactive as maybe some of the newer teams or more aggressive teams out there. Creativity, they're an older team, so they're not so creative, but they're not the worst. They do seem to make some new plays. Other than that, you can definitely rely on them in a fight. Accuracy, fight coordination, near perfect. Decision making, decent. Obviously, for a high-tier team, you're not going to get anything worse than decent. So, what's your opinion on the Kazna crew, Carmen?
My opinion on Kazna crew is that really taking Alien, kicking out Mojo, and also that all the season, German Braty, so Runze was commanding them because in the last season it wasn't not that many times that he could command them. Was a big change for this season. Also, they changed their style from this commanding by Steel Mojo and maybe in Victor with Runze to a bit like Navi, to stay in the camp, and then after 2 or 3 shots are made and they have an advantage, then think to fight and start the fight. If they don't have any advantage, just use Ilian, Haiba, Cobrelione, Veko to get the shells in the fight. And there is the best what they can do. They have really good skilled players.
So let's have a look at the MVP powered by Razer player, Elian, and how he's performed over the season. Often one of the top players of the whole thing with 49 kills, not the highest of the season, but as we say, kills isn't exactly what makes a great player. It's all about doing the damage, being in the right place at the right time, and making the right decision, staying alive. Now, we've said with the last 2 MVP powered by Razer guys, they sometimes overplay. They sometimes play in a position that isn't the best for the team, maybe. They might get caught out being a bit cocky. Now, does Elian, again to Carmen, you know him the best, does he often suffer from this as well?
He suffered in Lemming Train. He wanted, to be a star, because he was a captain, he was the best player, he wanted to be always, make the plays. He never trusted anybody else to make a play. That he was also commanding from 3090. It's what you talk about roster. It's from time to time it's too many on one person, and it depends on the personality. The personality of Elian is quite different than Raster if you talk to him. He is, especially when you play with him. The most important thing is that now Elian can focus only on playing because Runze is commanding, and this is quite good situation for him because he only needs to make his shots, and he is one of the best to making it. He's one of the best players in the EU. And I really hope that he will prove it in these finals. I'm just waiting to this face of Raster and Elian, the 2 young blood guys, who will be better. In fight on the street, probably will be Elian because it's quite bigger. But here, it's all about this. It's all about the mouse and your skill on it. I really think that it depends. You know, it's also the first time Ilian is playing with the Kazna at the offline. The guys, you know, really like each other. They are like a family almost because they are, you know, German brother is a German brother, so they also really like the guys. So, I mean, if Ilian will fit at the LAN, it means that it will be good for the team. If he not, it can be, you know, a bad paid decision for them because they are here because of him, but he can ruin the game. I am just waiting for the result.
Well, this is an interesting point. We can actually see it. Now we're actually live in the studio. We can actually watch their faces during the battle, and it's the communication between them. If one of the players is getting rowdy, shouting at the other players, it can really destroy morale and cohesion. People start overthinking. They start hesitating because they're waiting to not upset that guy. They're going, okay, I'll wait for him to tell me what I need to do before I do it. So we're going to go into the map picking, and we can find out really and truly what's going on. Now, interesting here, we don't have Ilian picking for his team, but we do have, that is Ruster on the right.
Yeah, that is Ruster.
So he is not only strategic, as you said, he's also the big player. So this is what you're saying is really a big advantage for Ilian. He doesn't have to make these decisions. He can just focus on his game.
Yes.
So we'll see how that affects the performance in the match. Talking about the maps, we said that Steps and Prokhorovka are most likely going to be the maps that are banned the most, but we saw Insk and Steps banned last time. So do you think it's going to be a repeat performance?
I think so, yes.
In my opinion, okay, we already see Ruinberg. It was Wilkie. Wilkie told that will be Steps, Ruinberg. I think Steps and Prokhorovka, but Ruinberg will be the 5th map probably. Okay, Ruinberg and Prokhorovka, experts are right. You know, we are earning our money.
So, okay, both Prokhorovka and Ruinberg are out, which means one of the open maps and one of the hybrid maps are gone. Now, Ruinberg went disastrously for School Bus.
Yeah.
TCM really rocked it. Maybe these teams were watching this and decided, no, we don't want to play against such a silly map. They're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this sort of stuff. Let's go for the more standard maps. Let's then start guessing what's going to be the first pick and which is the 5th pick. So which one is going to be basically the 3rd ban?
Because the 5th map is almost the 3rd ban, I think it's going to be Steps.
But
actually, it's Insk.
As you said it,
They dropped it.
in Insk.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What's going to be the first map? Which is going to be the first map we're going to play at?
I think it would be Steps.
First Steps. You think they're going to go head-to-head on Steps? They think you
Because
both
they
these
don't
teams.
want a map which is so easy to defend to be one of an important map. They would rather start with that.
They're going to get it out of the way starting early on, and the rest of the map's going to find out in the middle.
In my opinion, it depends on the captain. If you have a strong tactic on the Steps of the one of the sides, you want the Steps. And you know, most important map for the guys is HIMMELSDORF. Probably I will try to choose HIMMELSDORF as the first map, while we see HIMMELSDORF and Cliffs. So Cliffs, really important to have a cap, because now it's after his changes.
Yep, I saw his lips say Mines.
Yeah.
I definitely saw Mines is going to be second, and that means Steps is first, and you're right, so you guess it straight out. Or at least he said it. Yeah, there it is. It's updated like we saw him say it. So there we go. Steps is the first map. Now, does that mean that one of these teams have a plan on it? Or as you said, so they actually just want to make sure it's not the map that decides everything? That's the big question here.
I'm gonna go with Schnitzel here, that they want to just play out the Steps and feel out the opponent.
Okay.
And during the season, we have seen in Mainz as a second map multiple times, so that's really basic.
It's a comfortable map for everybody. Yeah. So let's get your votes in. Who do you think is going to be winning? What's your vote? I did mine early because I'm not good enough to know what maps make a difference. I'm just going to put in from things. So hand them over here, guys, so you can't
wait a second.
you can't change them. We can know that they are not going to get changed during the match. We can see how good you are at predicting the final result. So far, 3 of us got the exact result, and so you unfortunately don't have that.
Yeah, he can always rebound.
Don't let me down, Kazna.
Kazna crew are your one. They're huddled there together. You can see Ilian at the back giving his 2 cents in. And Palate is a person we really do have to mention. He's been in the scene in Kazna the entire time. Absolute. I was surprised when I met him the first time. He's such a nice guy. Really, really solid player as well. And with all the difficulties he's had, it's been really proud to see him play so well.
Yeah, it's really nice to also how the people treat him. It's really nice to have a guy to play with us without any problems. It's great. It's great to have this kind the people like him here. But according to the map score, I think I agree with Wilkie. We have 4-3, so we will see.
Hey, you're not meant to reveal that. You're not meant to
damn
watch
it.
what Wilkie said. But okay, let's go into the scoring system. A lot of people might not be knowing that if a draw happens, both teams get a point. So instead of like no one getting a point, both teams get a point. So you rarely see that fifth map. A single draw happens, the fifth map is not coming out. This is why we said during the picking phase, it's effectively a third ban. You could see it. If every team either won or lost, you will see that fifth map. But as we saw last time, we did get to the fourth map. It was pretty close. It was only one draw, and it was reasonably close on HIMMELSDORF. It wasn't a draw. It was reasonably close. It could have hit the fifth map. Now, do you think most of these teams expect there not to be a fifth map, or do you think that it's going to be seen at least once or twice today?
I think personally that we are not going to see the fifth map. It's maybe in one game in the whole weekend, maybe one.
For sure, at the grand final. Probably. Yeah, I think probably at the
because there are 7 maps.
Final. Yeah, that's why. That's why I will lose.
It won't happen.
I wonder what the audience actually is looking for. Are they a big Kazna fan, or are they a CPlay? Are they looking for the new kids on the block to do something, or are they looking for that final win? And that's Runesy at the front here on the right-hand side of your camera. He's the new captain. I say new captain, but he's kind of like the old captain that's come back. He was on a break.
No, he was
for a while.
because of the work problems. He was in the army. He couldn't, play that much.
But
That's
his
the reason.
CPlay, as you can see, a much younger group of players in general. Seriously, they're so young. I meet them and it's like, oh wow, you guys, for World of Tanks players, are relatively young.
We see that at the finals. It's younger and younger people here. Wait to see EPS guys. Really, it's like you will never sell them a beer. So.
And here's our MVP powered by Razor guy. We're going to see if he can really pull it off. Ruster has a lot of weight on his shoulders, calling the shots, as well as being one of the star players on the field. It's going to be really hard for him.
I'm only afraid for Dr. Tuyer in their team. This is the guy who makes a lot of troubles in their before teams. Schnitzel knows a bit about this.
Okay, so elaborate on this. What is up with Dr. Tuyer? What is this player?
He's a really passionate player, so if something doesn't go right, it gets loud.
So he's one of these ones that we said to watch out. Elian is the guy on Kazna to watch out for. He might lose his cool and might disrupt the other members of the team. And on Dr. Tuyer for CPlay. So when we're watching the cameras of actually the players, that is something to watch out for, whether the people are getting voted. There's Dr. Tuyer right in front of you right now.
And that's also they are the good friends of each other because they all know. They agree with each other that they know. After the games.
We have to point out that guy on the right, though. He is the only British professional player.
Yeah, I know. Like you are always time looking for British, and you only can talk to Laughter.
We have Laughter, but he retired, and so he's no longer a professional player. So this guy is now the only British player. Kind of took the crown away from Laughter. He was the only British player for a long, long, long time.
And you, my friend, and you're playing in the Go for What. You were professional.
I don't think I ever won it or even got to the quarterfinals. I don't think
Still
you
were playing.
That. I did get to Absolute League a few times. I never stayed for more than a week before we got to Moted again. But I have had a fair share of experience. But I would never... Actually, I faced his old team. When he had a British-only team, I actually faced him and Go for What. So he's a really good captain, really nice guy. So I'm really happy to see him in the Golden Series. So it's really nice to see another British guy doing well in World of Tanks.
Yeah, but... Really, I'm waiting for the first map and to find out if Schnitzel was right that no of the teams have a tactics, or it was a tactic of Raster to get them to think that we didn't train the steps and have something special on the steps. To be honest, we didn't have many steps in our league, and this is why I think now not everybody is prepared for it.
Well, actually, Lothar said that during the season that there was only 2 teams that know how to play steps. One was Virtus Pro, and the other one was Freefall. But sadly, it wasn't enough, and we free fall off from the Golden League.
It's after your name. It was deliberate. It was just because you wanted to fit your name. So,
yeah.
But still, we have these 2 teams here about to go head-to-head. The youthful team with a lot of creativity, a lot of unexpected plays maybe about to happen, versus an old hand team that's got their full strength back. They've got a few new players. They've got their old commander back, and they've got a lot of energy and a lot to prove. Can we see Kazna pulling it off for the first time and getting through to the finals? Have they actually been in the finals yet?
No.
They've not, yeah.
They almost all no, they were at the second season in Cologne. Last year in the Gamescom, they were because their lack of the Dignitas. They were facing the Nova. They win with EPS, if I'm right. No, EPS lost with them. But there was lack of the one team. And the 4 teams, and only us as the noobs, lost the game, and we were free for the second day. But Kazna made their 4th place or 3rd.
Okay, so that's been one of their highest
EPS
points. But this is the problem with them. They've always been a consistent players. They've always been in Gold Series. They've always been at the top, but they've never quite managed to make it. So they have a lot to prove here in Season 4. They're saying, like, okay, we're at full strength now. We have everyone back together. We are ready to do this. And actually, looking at the flags on their side of their shirt, Runzi is actually from Germany, and obviously Ilian is from Poland, but the rest of the team are...
Slovakia, Serbia, Croatia. Yeah. You have a mixture.
Oh, they're all mixed, but from a similar area, geographical area. So, but they've been friends for a long time in the Kazna Greater Clan. As you said, they were in Clan Wars a lot together, playing against Odin Mortis. I assume there's very big clans.
We didn't have a recent encounter with Odin Mortis. We were like going around the map.
Okay.
Trying to play every map.
But it looks like they are ready, and we're going to hear from Pansy and Laughter now as they commentate the matches.
Thank you so much, and he once again put my name before yours. You're my right-hand man and a scrub these days, apparently, according to him. Once you're irrelevant, now you are not going to be remembered because you've been replaced.
Trevor's has replaced me, apparently.
That's it. Are you okay with that, or...?
He plays a tier 1.
Does it not count?
I played artillery, which was obviously the most important role in the whole team, so I think I'm still a little bit above him.
Yeah,
just a little bit out of date.
What if he does well in this game? If he wins this game, do you think he might?
He might just take over, but it's going to be hard. They've got to get a minimum 3rd place for him to.
Is that it? Is that
yeah.
his target to get the British title?
He's got to hit the mark.
All right.
Best British player in Europe. 1 tournament.
One guy, 1 tournament. But still, obviously, there is the opponent standing in the way, Kazna Crew, on your screens right now. What can we say about these guys that hasn't been said before? I'm a big fan of the way they play. It only got better when they added an Ilian. Interesting to find out he's not actually calling for them as much as I expected. I thought he might be more of a strategic element towards that team. Maybe a little bit more behind the scenes, theory crafting with them rather than in-game calling. But, certainly an element there they can depend on if necessary. Do you think that's going to be a big factor here? This is the first time we'll be seeing them with this lineup at an offline event.
I think it's going to be a big factor for sure. I mean, Ilian does call well when he's in the kind of heat of the moment, when he's in the battle with the rest of his team. The combat tanks are all going, and he can say, let's go for that one, because he's often the one who's going to be hitting the shot first. But you've also got someone, as you mentioned, the British player Trevor. He's got a very cool head on him. He's very logical about the way he thinks, and he's playing that tier 1, so he can kind of give that retrospective feel to the tactic and make sure that his team is doing the right thing from his point of view, which is often the most simple point of view. So you've always got to remember that, CPlay have a lot of different team captains. Of course, Ruster's going to be doing the main calls, but in general, the whole team is going to have kind of an input, which is really where we're seeing a lot of the teams go in terms of general command structure of the game. For Kazna Group, it's a lot more, straightforward.
Yep.
You've got to say, it's going to be a really interesting how he can call it. It's Ruins, for instance, Season 2, Season 3, 3rd place. So a good result, but they need to be getting past that top 3 and actually go for a proper win.
And this was quite a deciding map in style. I think there was a discussion going on, was this a bit of a bait play coming out from CPlay to almost indicate, yeah, we're going for that safety first pick of steps. It's going to be a draw out. We're going to play it smooth. We're not going to go for anything. Or are they going to go for an all-in strategy? What do you think we're going to see here? 'Cause in the south, it's obviously Kazna. In the north, it's CPlay.
I think I have to agree with Wilkie that this is going to be more of a, feeling what the other team's doing and kind of getting a general idea of what the other team's going to be playing for, as opposed to anything too excessive. Echo, though, does get a little bit of interest there in the MX-1390, but gets some good spots there. 255 coming off that tank. And a few shells are heading the way, and maybe Kazna have to be careful because CPlay are so far winning the one-on-one.
And I want to point out, Ruster in this position, I have loved this play from him. Confident play, already connecting towards Ilian straight away in that T69. And I don't like the ice tree on this map. I've said it before, Crux has once again championed that. I'm not a big fan. It's very cumbersome. It's not quite as nimble as we see the other lineups going with at the moment. And it looks like, what are we actually seeing from CPlay there? There's a 1390 Rust, a couple of T69s. And he's the man I want to be really focusing on in this map. He's one of the players I've personally loved watching evolve throughout the online season, really hitting some incredible stats. And he's certainly looking to prove a point, taking Ilian very low, 619 early in the game. Not a bad start from CPlay here.
I'm kind of surprised, actually, that Kazna's got a little bit caught out by, once again, Ruster's position up in towards the
it's nothing new, is it?
C0. I mean, to be fair, Virtus Pro almost lost it as well. If CPlay had gone a little bit more aggressive on this map, they could have lost it. But, after a certain amount of time, you kind of have to predict it and try something new. But maybe Kazna's saying, okay, yeah, we might receive a little bit of damage, but we need this position to stave off CPlay's next plan of attack. But you can already see the Dead Zone, Trevez, and Nervax all sitting up below. They're looking to push around onto Hyber, use a hold down ability, and then actually get the damage on and actually go for a kill. Alien would be the first target, but of course he's going to be in the most defensive position, the hardest position to take down. So at the moment, Kazna are doing a little bit. Rasta, yeah, going real low, 390.
Yeah, clearly the position being exhausted now. He needs to adapt to move across. I'm not sure who's landing the shells. It's not Hyber, I don't believe. I think it's from the left side of our screens. Veko and Alien there adapting across very well. These two making sure they're able to connect those shots, but it also leaves a vulnerability now over towards that east side where this two-man roaming squad won't be able to cover off, and we might see an engagement coming out here.
It does look like engagement. Those two tanks left a little bit of a blindside on for CPlay.
Let's see if they connect these shells, though. The big part is it's a young, nervous team from CPlay. They need to make this count, and they're doing just that. Crux is going low. Dekilzor and Ruster also receiving a lot of damage, and there we go. Alien does find Dekilzor. Crux receiving more shells, but not gone down yet. Ruster needs to calm it down, play slower, because they are losing numbers here, and they had the advantage. They cannot give this one up, but Haki gets focused. Ruster peers up again to challenge down Crux. Finally lands the shell. Big play for him. That's going to get the confidence building up, but they've lost Haki, and they're losing out the numbers, but that HP pool is still looking okay for Nervax in the dead zone, and they made the most of it, taking down German Brait, and now the target will have to swing towards Alien and Veko.
Depends on what the reloads are like as well, because I believe Nervax just used a more Veko going in. Alien also probably on reload having to take down the T69 that was in the middle, so I think everyone's kind of on reload. Caps on the way though for Kazna crew.
Yeah, this is showing that young gun team might have just overextended a little, got a little too confident, went for a little too much, and just didn't have that complete vision of everything going on, because as you said, the cap is started. 37 seconds of that. Alien playing in between, just going to try and slow him down, make sure they get this held in place. Nervax not being able to cross across completely smoothly. Alien will be challenged down low, and there we go. Paluda did find Dr. Tour, but the kill came back across, so leaving in a 3v4, but that cap is going to be a big factor here, and the dead zone, Nervax and Ruster are going to have to come up big.
It's going to be the crucial factor, because CPlay have only got about 23 seconds, and Hyber might take down both of them, might take all of them.
Beautiful shot from Hyber there, landing on the cross, taking down Ruster, the player you'd want to take out, if any. 15 seconds now. Nervax next on the chopping board, takes one from Veko. Veko delivers, and now just the dead zone alive. I don't think he's got the time to reset this. I think he knows that. He does land the shot, but he's down so low, 32 HP. One more will do the job, and Kazna pick up the first map. Sadly, CPlay, just that inexperience, a little bit of a spark, that will and want, just maybe a little too much there.
Yeah, I thought Kazna actually got caught out by Ruster being in that position. Yes, they took a lot of damage, but because they adapted with Alien and Veko behind that rock in the middle of the field, they managed to do enough damage. But then again, you know, CPlay thought that it would give them a way in, because they did have to commit those two tanks there. So they thought they could push around and go 4 versus 3, for instance. But because Alien and Veko were so quick, they actually managed to get behind CPlay, which was really the defining factor. Once they were behind, they could stop CPlay from going back towards their cap, and CPlay, yeah, okay, they went 3 versus 2 in terms of combat tanks. The 2 tier 1s were a big factor for Kazna crew. Often, you know, on this map, those tier 1s have been important, a bit like HIMMELSDORF, because you kind of have to commit all your combat tanks to one situation if you want to win, and that leaves you vulnerable for the cap.
Yeah, and hopefully in the next couple of maps coming up, they can calm those nerves, slow it down, think it through, make sure they're really in that right mentality coming to the CPlay. The guys on your screen, they are a young team. You can see it. They're trying to discuss things through. Might have to tune into their team speaking a little bit, try and hear what the thoughts are with them. Actually, let's give that a go, see if we can hear them while they're discussing the next map coming up, which would be mine. So let's have a little listen in, see if we can hear them. I'm not sure if we can. This is the first time we'll be trying it out for CPlay. Nothing yet, so we'll try that a little later on. We'll give that a go. I can imagine they discuss in English, actually, to be fair, as they do of the English player, and I'm not sure for Kazna as well, because they're also a fairly mixed-up team, so maybe it's going to be English they're calling in as well, so it'd be interesting to make sure we get those team speaks working, make sure we get in there and hear these guys on the call. So we'll do it once they get in game and see if we can tune in a little bit. But as we said, next map is going to be Mines. It's a map that we saw being the complete downfall of TCM when it came down to it in the end. School Bus just played it smartly. They played to the time, as you heard at the end then. And I worry that TCM, a veteran side to these sort of stages, this sort of pressure moments, if they can fumble it, you've got to worry for someone like CPlay who have such talented players, but they don't have that experience, that calm mentality yet, that they could also crumble here.
Yeah, it's going to be about, you know, how calm these teams can be. CPlay, to be honest, I mean, what is the average age, like 18 or something? They look pretty calm to me. They don't look phased. Same couldn't be said for TCM. They look really phased after...
They look down.
They look down for sure. Maybe why they actually ended up fumbling that last game. Whereas CPlay, still discussing, still making sure that everything's going to be okay. Next map, of course, is going to be Mines. Now, not my favorite map anymore. I think that more goes over towards Ensk and Himmelsdorf, but still a fairly proficient map, at least for Kazna with 55% win ratio. You know, CPlay, on the other hand, they've struggled a little bit, but also managed to get 55% wins. So an even score for these two, so we can't really predict which one will go forwards. But just generally in the online phase, Kazna came out on top 3-1, only going down on one map, so it's going to be really, really hard for CPlay to come back. They've also already got that mental kind of block on them. Like, we've already lost this kind of to Kazna Crew, so how can we actually win it on the offline phase? And that's really going to be the test for them. Just, they have the ability. That's what they have going for them. I think in general they've got the skill to match or even overmatch Kazna.
So, guys at home, do get involved on Twitter using that hashtag WGLEU. And let me know your thoughts towards this game coming up. Obviously, we've seen the first map going down in favour to Kazna. Not a big surprise, but more the fact they actually were able to clinch the win on a map like Steps. Not something we see all that often, to be fair. Normally it is drawn out. Normally we do see it going towards that sort of favour. But do make sure you get on Twitter. Make sure you use that hashtag WGLEU. And let me know your thoughts on the map. Coming up, it will be Mines. Bit of a tough task for these guys, but we've seen the brilliance once again from CPlay on this very map. And let's see if they can pull it out here. Kazna looking solid so far. Looking fairly untested. Had a little bit of a shaky start on the first. Let's see how they come into the second one here on towards Mines. So at the moment you can see the teams just getting themselves ready, and this could be over very soon if CPlay don't sort themselves out. This is a Kazna pick as well. They chose this map, they wanted it in this order. CPlay picked the first and lost it. Maybe a turn around. So in the north in blue it will be CPlay, and in the south in red it's Kazna. What are we seeing from these guys so far?
Looks like CPlay is just going to go straight for the hill. They've got Nervax and Ruster heading up there. Two highest damage dealers for CPlay, so hardly surprising. Also, the spawns are going to be an important factor. Those AMX-39s in the right place to go up. Often what makes it or breaks it for the team. So Nervax is going to try and get some initial spots on. I think he finds a couple on the cross. And just going to be immediately trying to find that information. Of course, Palauda below kind of does suggest to us immediately, like Kazna Crew doesn't want to go for the hill push, or at least any kind of hill play with the T32 they have. But both teams gone for a mirror match. Looks like, as did TCM and School Bus, this is the kind of lineup we'll be seeing throughout the finals, on at least Mines.
Yeah, most certainly. Whoever takes the advantage on the first map certainly would enjoy this as a second, and I wonder if Kazna may be considering that. Coming into this, if we can get that win on the first map Steps, we can always play from the south on the second, which is Mines, which is highly favourable, even though so far it has been the northern side who's come a little better off in the end, School Bus being that team prior. But still, we'll see how this one comes into it. 8 minutes on the board, a lot of time to work with, and I'm curious to see if CPlay can pull something off here. They're in a position they now have to make the moves. Last time we have seen these guys doing that boost up towards the hill. I wonder if they're actually going to go for that here. I'm not sure if it's the right situation, but it's an option. Ruster does occasionally get himself up there and does get a good couple of shots across to where the likes of Elian and Crux are waiting. But if Kazna do their homework, they won't be surprised by this. I'm pretty sure they'd be well aware by now that that is an option for CPlay. But still, Kazna being fairly passive and defensive here is no surprise to us.
No, they are 1-0 up, as did TCM against School Bus on Himmelsdorf. Kazna Crew is going to be camping against CPlay on Mines, and from the south it's a little easier. From north, yes, okay, you get the hill, and you can see CPlay have capitalized on a lot. They've even added the heavy tanks up onto the hill. From the south, at least you can have that cover, those bushes, those rocks, and of course the kind of houses, you see Ruster's making his way through. But that's a pretty good position. TCM did the same. And whether he can find Plowder will stop that 50-meter proxy spot coming out and allow CPlay to kind of have the right side of the hill a little bit more and push off without, you know, Kazna crew being able to react immediately. But Ruster not finding anything, so has to reverse in the dead zone, trying to cover him from the hill. So what we've got here, we've got CPlay trying things. They're moving forwards. They're 1-0 down on a map they won against Kazna crew on the online stage. Steps, the only map they did win on.
Yeah.
So they're kind of thinking, what can we do? What can we adapt to? How can we actually win this game? And that's going to be a really, really tricky test. But then again, Kazna are kind of separated. You've got a lot of tanks towards the left side. Looks like they want to go for the cap at some point if CPlay does push in. Certainly the fast tanks will be able to get in the cap before CPlay can actually get any sort of ground. But also the firepower won't be in their favor, so that's where CPlay and, you know, Tekilza and the dead zone, Tekilza, you know, the highest damage dealer for CPlay altogether, can come into their own.
Certainly an option in this one. Let's see how this one unfolds, because at the moment, as you said, CPlay just looking for that way in, looking for any route available. Having to weigh up their options here, because it's no surprise if any of us, Kazna will be playing this passive to an extent. They may make some moves, but more to buy time than anything. As Hyber is making a move over towards that Lighthouse Island, yet to fully commit anywhere, really, as Kazna do have that southern hold there, happy where they are. But if Hyber can maybe get a couple of shells across, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But also just reinforce that Lighthouse Island, make sure they are not leaving anywhere looking too vulnerable. And certainly putting this player in that sort of spot will keep that one well in check. But what are the real options here for CPlay? Because we saw TCM being able to undo this. We've seen School Bus prior also having to find a route through, which was through the Lighthouse Island and shoot across. What options does CPlay really have now?
They have to catch Kazna crew on the rotate of some sort. Kazna are very good at just reacting to what teams do. You could see the aggressives and stats not very high. And with those 3 heavy tanks in the base, the AMX 5200, the IS-3 and the T-32, you kind of got all the necessities crossed. You got the firepower, damage, and of course the armor all kind of crossed off. So it's going to be hard for CPlay. And if anything, the first map taught us that CPlay hasn't changed any of their tactics. They haven't adapted anything. They might have improved them and refined them, whereas Kazna crew had. They had that Veko, they had that Alien ready to take down Ruster on the hill. So it could be a game of adaptation from the online phase. We'll have to wait and see. But Nervax at least going to try and land a couple of shells onto the camping tanks, and he could be an important player for that team. Whether, you know, he can do enough against Crooks and Alien is a whole other question, because, you know, the MX 3090, 1.4k damage max, when you're firing against tanks that have a lot of armor, a lot of HP, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference, especially when your team still has to end up pushing up. So all these kind of things coming into play, which does give Kazna crew, especially as that time just ticked down, quite a bit of an advantage. And it is a test of a team, whether that advantage is going to be broken by CPlay.
Yeah, and as we said, it's no surprise the Nervax is up here. It's a fairly common tactic in a way for CPlay, something that not many others embrace. This is something we've seen them consistently do throughout the online phases. And I see them still sticking with it, see them still going for this one. Crux and Alien would be on the receiving end, but nothing really too dangerous come in their way, as really is down to CPlay to make this move. At the moment, they've committed to Killzor and Hacky now, round towards that east side village. They might make a play out of this.
Yeah, that's actually really good. They got the Killzor on, they got Nervax on the cross. The Killzor goes forwards with Hacky. Now, if Kazna crew will react to this by sending Alien and Crooks around, Nervax will be able to just peek and get the shots onto the side of the turrets of Alien and Crooks there. So perfect. And of course, those big heavy tanks won't be able to turn their turrets in time to deal with that. But those two have done it perfectly. They haven't reacted. They haven't, you know, lost their heads, lost their cool, and trying to take these guys down the cross. Alien also receives a shell, but Nervax gets one immediately back, and perfect stuff from a Kazna crew. And Nervax can't do much more.
Yeah, he's done his duty, but now the others need to swing into effect. 3 minutes on the board, Dekilza receives 1. It's not looking good. They're probing, but they're not really getting those connections just yet. Hacky drawing Alien out. He's not going to take that bait. At the moment, CPlay knocking on the door, but not getting much of an answer so far. Hyber, Alien, Crux. Just about everyone else waiting. German Brait is also waiting in the wings, so let's not forget him here. He is tucked way at the back, so they may focus on these two, but there is still that other factor in play. Will they make that final push now? Try and run down that time, play it smart. Ruster actually splitting off. Is Ruster going to try and pincer here, do you think?
You could be. I mean, you got to wonder, you know, where's Veko and Hyber? Because it could be very dangerous for Ruster, but look at that. CPlay going to go in regardless.
Looks like it's time to go, and that's why Ruster's there. He's waiting for that push down the hill. He's going to force these guys to go for the challenge in the exchange, and here comes German Braid to the action, but it's too late. DeKilzer already took down Elian. German Braid did find Hacky, so avenging his death, but still, DeKilzer in place. We've got Nervax just on top. Surely DeKilzer's going to go down. Yes, Crux will connect, but Nervax looking to deal some more damage. Does he have that reload available? I'm not too sure. And Kazna Crew so far just dealing with this very well. Veko pushing into position, finding Ruster. Ruster's plan gets pretty much undone as we speak as Veko takes him out, leaving just the dead zone Nervax in this one. And well, Tatura and Trevors might have to consider trying to draw this one out now.
They got to try and draw it, but also Kazna Crew can go for the cap because Nervax is on that hill. It's going to be very hard for him to come around, and you can see Hyber immediately goes for that. You've got the tier 1 of Cobra immediately up north. He's going to be trying to cap, and Veko has basically got to stop CPlay from stopping this cap. And Dr. Tor, to be honest, not in the right position in the tier 1, kind of useless. Yes, okay, he spots the middle, but all in all, that's not such a good thing. So what can CPlay do to counter this? Crux is probably going to go down via Nervax. Second shell doesn't connect, and he won't have a chance for a third. So disastrous, and now German Braid's going to deal with it.
Yeah, German Braid being a brilliant player in this, biding his time well, maybe a little late, you could argue, on points, but still, he's buying time, takes down Nervax, and leaves it all in the hands of the dead zone. The reset does come through, so dead zone is doing work here. Hyber's going to try and hunt him down, but the dead zone is consistently applying pressure, and they need to get more players in that cap or hunt this guy down right away because they're going to be struggling. Here comes Hyber looking to take him out of the picture. Doesn't get the first shot. Dead zone can roll off that hill, doing just that. The cap has been halted, and it's hunting time now. Hyber going straight in for this one, and I think he might just roll straight down the hill if he's not careful. And Crux actually did just take himself down there somehow, but still, it's a 2v1. Dead zone not going to have much of a chance there.
Dr. the only one left for CPlay, goes down via Veko. 2-0 to Kazna Crew, and CPlay, they had to take the fight to Kazna, but, you know, Kazna, they had the trap. They had German Braid. He bided his time perfectly in that AMX 5100. He didn't give himself away. And then when it came down to it, they sprung the trap. They knew CPlay would push around. The amount of damage that guy did in that situation was phenomenal, thanks to his positioning. So patience from Kazna Crew. They knew what to do, when to do it, and CPlay, they tried the best they could. I couldn't really see how they did it any better because Ruster's positioning was perfect.
It was good. It was very intuitive.
It was very intuitive, but it just wasn't enough to deal with Kazna because Kazna knew what CPlay was going to do.
Yeah, and you got to feel from the very start, Kazna has been leading this game, and CPlay have been trying. They've definitely made some moves, and let's look at it this way then, because I've got to say it. It's looking like Kazna's going to win this. I may eat my words very soon, but would you say CPlay against TCM, who performed better so far?
Definitely TCM. I think TCM...
Even with the choke?
I think TCM performed better than School Bus, but they still lost. So you got to put it like that.
Okay, okay. But do you think TCM can get over those nerves if they're playing against a team like CPlay who's still aggressive, still very in this to win? They're not looking down and out. They still look pretty in this one. They look how focused they are. They're not suddenly shying away from this. But, you know, I worry that maybe TCM is going to get to them, and if they do meet up in the lowers, I think there's danger there. I still feel there might be a little bit of danger there.
There's definitely danger. There's passion from CPlay. There's passion from TCM. And as you said, CPlay has that great factor of knowing, regardless what they do or how they play, TCM, in every single season, doesn't matter what roster they have, it's something about those core members that doesn't allow them to win. I mean, it's simple as that. You either draw it. They draw it a lot. I mean, what do they have? Like 3 draws this season? Yeah, 3 draws this season. I mean, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
You know, just qualifying in 6th, thanks to that last game, second to last game. It's not where you want to be, you know, as a team. TCM plays well, but can never push themselves over the edge, can never push the other team to the limit where they actually lose. So that goes for CPlay, for sure. Kazna Crew now 2-0 up.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing they have to do is actually draw it out. But then again, you know, another win would definitely put the nail in the coffin.
And let's look at it this way. They only had to draw steps out originally because whenever you see steps as the first map, you initially think, okay, that's going to be drawn out. That's fine. We'll go on to the next couple. They won that. And then Mines, they only had to be passive, but they still won it in the end. They keep going for these victories, and it keeps working out for them. And I worry that Cliff will just go that way. It's got that feeling to it that they may be able to forge something. And because let's bear in mind, Kazna, when they play this map passively, they have been overrun several times. So that makes me feel that they might go for a slightly aggressive stance here. They might actually go for the victory, but it's also dangerous.
No, I mean, you never really want to go for the camp. If you see a way in, you take it. Bad teams, they just go for it regardless. They don't think about, you know, how many wins we have, how many draws do we have, how many losses do we have. You need to kind of start with that as a base, you know, where we are in terms of the other team, and then you build your tactic around that. Cliff, I think it could be interesting. Honestly, I've got a feeling that CPlay is going to take this. Okay. They've tried a lot of interesting things. They might go for that M4 Sherman gun, 320 damage one. We'll have to wait and see for that, of course. But these kind of options are still on the cards for CPlay. They can still do this if they win the next 3 maps in a row, which is a hard thing against Kazna because, well, no one really wins 3 maps against Kazna. Apart from Virtus.pro. Stomps them in like 5 minutes, but it's just Virtus.pro.
Yeah, they're a whole creature unto themselves. You can't ever like use them in stats, you know what I mean? It's like, well, they won this map every time until Virtus.pro. Oh, they always do really well until Virtus.pro. They're just an outward factor. We have to just remove them completely. But yeah, Cliff, it's got danger to it. We've seen that Ruster does like playing onto that lighthouse. He's capable in that 1390 when he does pick it up, and I'm looking to see what they can bring here. I'm hoping that they're not too disheartened by now. I'm hoping they can keep themselves motivated and looking for the win here. Because as you said, it's possible. It's just damn hard to do. 3 maps in a row against anyone is pretty hard to do. Kazna is doing very well at it so far, though, as they are sitting on 2 wins. But Cliff, bit of an interesting beast so far. We've seen an aggressive start on the last matchup. Schoolbus doing a little better than TCM there, being the swing point almost. And who's the more aggressive side here, do you feel?
I think CPlay is the more aggressive side. Kazna Crew have been very reactive, probably the most reactive team in the whole season. I think they've been the most clever team in the whole season as well, because they've been reacting. They play a lot like Virtus.pro and Na'Vi, although Virtus.pro can just go aggressive whenever they want and win.
As we saw against Kazna.
But as you just saw,
but it's just an outlier.
Yeah, just ignore that completely. But I think Kazna have that mentality which is right just for winning in this game. So I think that's going to be a big factor. I want to see what Elian can do and provide in this game. Ruster's been extremely good on Cliff. I have to say this is his best map apart from Steps. So I think, you know, it's going to be a battle about Elian versus Ruster. Both are MVPs in this matchup. Interesting
lineups from Kazna as well. What tanks are we seeing here?
Well, Kazna have picked the 5 AMX 3090, the Penta AMX 3090. CPlay haven't. They've gone for the triple T69, AMX 1600, AMX 3090. So, well, they can't get in the middle fast enough. So where's the next logical place? It's going along the bottom. You can see that's what CPlay wants to do. The T69s, I'm not sure if I don't think they're being used to basically go hard down. I think they're being used just to pump out that damage a lot quicker. Then you have the 5100 to basically finish off the tanks because the time between shots is longer. So you've got a good combination, and that's why I think CPlay can do this. From the south, they have that initial disadvantage, so they're trying to counter it with the kind of lineups they're picking.
Well, already Elian has connected 1 shot, the 5100, doing 306 damage very early on to the dead zone, who now has to consider his options in that T69. But this is a fairly aggressive CPlay, as you said, the more aggressive of the two. And they're pushing straight up that west side. And is this just an all-out play?
I think there's an all-out play. They're going for the cap. I'm going to put the pressure on with the dead zone. But I think it's going to be a very, very strong tactic. If Kazna don't deal with the dead zone and the kills, or if they deal with them really quickly, I think it's going to be undown very quickly.
Yeah.
But if they don't, then the camp will be underway, and then those really heavy tanks, the firepower tanks, can come into their own. But Veko, perfect position to deal with it.
Yeah, he's not landed any shots just yet. 2 shots coming through. It's Elian doing the damage once again, and they didn't focus on the firepower of Nervax to kills her in the dead zone. They went straight for the cap, and you might argue it's working out, but here comes the reinforcements. Here comes the cavalry, and Veko finally takes a bit of damage here. He's going to have to be careful. Landing 1 shot out of the 5 so far. He's trying to roll off that hill. 27 seconds on the board for that cap. Veko is going to be the lamb to the slaughter. The sacrificial lamb goes down. The dead zone will claim that one, but has it bought time? Has it given room to breathe for Kazna? Elian trying to battle through. Ruster holds him up, goes for the shot towards Hyber. This is smart stuff, but Hyber coming into that reset. Can he land this shot? He needs to do this. Kazna on the verge of looking good here. 4 seconds left. He needs to land the shot pretty damn fast, Hyber.
Oh, his turret's down.
Oh, God, he missed it. He did not get the shot off, and CPlay capture the point. They get battle number 3. They get Cliff under their belts. And can you believe it? Hyber not landing the shot there. Normally he's one of the players that won't miss that.
He had a pixel shot, though, to be fair to me. It was millimeters. And what was incredible, whoever, I think it was Rusty, just about got the reload. He stopped Elian from the side. He knew that, you know, the front of the tank, basically, if you ram someone in the front, you know, obviously how tracks work, you can move forwards and backwards. The other tank can just push against you, and you're going to roll naturally backwards. But if you go from the side, then where do you go? There's no tracks to move forwards, so he has to push against the side of the track, so the other tank can't push you as easily. And when you have the mismatch of the different weights of the two tanks, the AMX 5100 is easy going to be able to push you if it has it on the front one, but on the side one, it's not going to be so easy. So amazing play by star player Ruster. The other player wanted to say is that Hyber got his turret taken out. Hand cranked it, so he had to. It's a lot slower, so he couldn't move it as quickly as he wanted to. So that could be another factor. And Kazna crew just panicked. They did. They
didn't know what to deal with.
They really tried to go for it with Veko. I think it was a little bit too quick. They still had a little bit more time, so they could have, for instance, dealt with the dead zone, who managed to do the damage to actually take him out before they actually had to make that first move. So, you know, a lot of panic from Kazna crew. CPlay innovating, trying new things, as did Kazna against Steps, and that's why they get the reward. It's 2-2 now.
Yeah, and Ruster,
2-1. 2-1.
But Ruster's play, as you said, holding back Elian then. God only knows how that would change the game in another way, excuse me, if he wasn't able to play off. But the man on your screen on the right there, pretty much a bit of a game changer in that one. Very all-in strategy from CPlay, something we don't see often on a map like Cliff. It's normally quite standardized. To an extent, there are small variations, but that was quite unique in its format. And HIMMELSDORF coming up now, I worry, because, you know, CPlay have their strengths, they have their creativity, they have that aggression, they have that young blood kind of carrying them through, but HIMMELSDORF doesn't really entertain that idea. It's very standardized, it's very normal. But how's their performance actually been on that on HIMMELSDORF?
Not too good. About 50%, 55% win ratio on HIMMELSDORF for CPlay. I think they've lacked some heavy tank skills. As you know, Carmen very correctly pointed out, CPlay and the early Lemming train are pretty similar. And the early Lemming train also struggled on HIMMELSDORF. They got the perfect synergy with the T69s and the AMX 3090s on an open map like Prokhorovka. But where you need the focus fire and the basic heavy tank skills, HIMMELSDORF doesn't go for them. Whereas Kazna crew, 85% win ratio on this map, also the most played map. Only one loss, and that was against Virtus Pro. Pretty much an unbeaten record, apart from Virtus Pro. So it's going to be very, 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 very hard for CPlay to win this one. Kazna have all the ingredients they need. They got Elian that 5100. Veko also plays the 5100. You've got Hyber, the IS3 player, you know, German Berater, he likes to play both tanks. So you've got these fantastic players who know what to do, when to do it, and they also train like crazy on this map.
And that's the thing as well. We heard the CPlay have been training a hell of a lot coming into this event, but we yet to really see that coming into effect. We're hoping to see a little more here on HIMMELSDORF, one of those heavy maps that really does take a lot of work to get good at. Kazna, they've got it down pretty much. Let's be serious here. It's one of the stronger maps, I still feel, especially with that addition of Elian really stepping up to the forefront on this. Let's see if this can be one of the deciding factors in their tournament here. CPlay desperately need it, but still, Kazna, I can never doubt them on this map now.
I'll never doubt them on this map at all. You know, so much practice against Spaler. They went back and forwards, really tested. Kazna kind of got HIMMELSDORF in their blood. They know what to do, and really, even if they're down, they'll be able to react to situations. They'll be able to put the other team in a bad disadvantage. They'll be able to put the tier ones in the right position to deal with the cap. You know, all these kind of things. They have that real feeling about the map, which you get after a lot of training and after a lot of losses, to be honest. You know, you've got to remember, Kazna crew, yes, they've got 2 third places in a row in Season 2 and Season 3, but we joked about that team qualifying for every single LAN finals, but never seeming to do very well. I mean, Season 1, Season 2, they struggled. I mean, yeah, Season 2 they did well, but Season 1 they did 6th place, and IEM Katowice they did 6th place. You know, it's hard stuff for them. CBIT even, they did 6th place, not Katowice. So it's hard for them to win, but they have what it's required now. which is really why you see them doing very good results, and maybe why they actually could end up taking this tournament and maybe even test Virtus Pro. They were in second place for a very long time in the online stage, only just being bested by Evil Panda Squad and later on School Bus. So CPlay looking for that hill. Alien immediately retracting back because Trevor spotted him, and this looks like a standard start from both teams.
Yeah, both do what they need to. Kazna taking a slightly more passive position in towards the northwest. Nothing shocking about that. It's fairly standard these days. Kazna are still leading by that 1 point. They could do with keeping hold of that. You don't want to give CPlay any more confidence. Young sides like this, they will run with that and build off it, and they will punish any mistakes. So Kazna just locking it down, playing a smart game, saying, okay, CPlay, you think you got this, try and actually fully forge a game. So far, let's bear in mind though, Kazna have picked up both of their wins to an extent off the move of CPlay's. You know, when CPlay made that first move on steps, or if you look towards mines to an extent, Kazna have picked it up off the back of that. So there's always danger there. So CPlay needs to nail that execution, make sure they have everything on absolute lock. At the moment, as you mentioned, the hill was the primary objective for CPlay, getting themselves up there. Ruster, and well, Trevor's was there, but Alien does take him down. So already Kazna up a tier 1, and the tier 1s are fairly vital on this map.
Very vital. Trevor's actually did it pretty good. He was rocking backwards and forwards, so if you rock backwards and forwards, you can kind of use the momentum of your tank to not get shot. But Alien's so quick, he's got such good reaction times that really Trevor's met his fate pretty quickly. So big blow there for CPlay. The dead zone does head around, and as does Ruster there in the hill. So looks like a push from the 3-line could be on the cards for CPlay. Now if they do push, they're going to face Veko, German Brat, Hyber, and Crooks there. So 4 combat tanks for Kazna crew. They realize immediately, okay, so if CPlay's pushing along the left side, let's get German Brait around and spring that trap a little bit like they did on Mines. If they're pushing just straight through the middle road, then it's pretty much game over as well, because German Brait can come around. And I think that's where Kazna crew wants to put it. They want to put the focus on their best heavy tank player, German Brait, AK Runes. But first shot lands into Nervax 422, and immediately CPlay's on the back foot.
Yeah, dangerous path to walk down there. Going down that 3-line is a little bit of a disaster, really. You've got Hyber, Crux, Veko all waiting down the end, so you don't really want to just go ambling into that at any point. They have left the east side of the map completely though, so it does look like CPlay are looking maybe to use the railroad side. It has come into favor fairly recently. We saw in the last previous seasons it's gone from a little bit of the hill play to more the centralized banana line, and it's been adapting consistently. And at the moment, it looks like CPlay are going to try and find that pathing down the 1 to 3, down those railroad lines. You've got kills or then Nervax. The IS-3's leading the way. Nothing too abnormal about it, but still, let's see if they can find a route in. It's a dangerous path to tread, though.
Dangerous indeed. School Bus tried this last time, couldn't quite break TCM Gaming, but came very close. German Brait take down to second tier 1, so you'll see immediately that Kazna crew, once they've cornered CPlay, they're going to be sending their own tier 1s down to the base, and that's going to cause CPlay to have to send one of their combat tanks back, which would immediately lose them the game, but they'd lose it either way. So tricky position for CPlay. They have to nail the execution, as you said, take down Kazna crew very quickly, get a big advantage very quickly, so then they can send one of the combat tanks back to the base to stop the cap. But already happening, as I believe one of the 51s is already going. So Novak's going to be peeking around, but immediately as he does, Veko's going to plant a nice little shell into the side of his tank.
Yeah, and if not, Veko, Hyber and Crux. So there is certainly a lot of players waiting to punish as Nervax lines himself up, maybe for a peek. Could be disastrous, though. He is the one who's taken the most damage so far. There we go. As you mentioned, Veko just gifts him the shell and a second bounce on the third, however. Doesn't get too damaged, and Dekilzor has to come in and play defense because Veko is tearing his teammate to shreds. Nervax is still reeling from it all, finally gets a shell available, but considering this is a one-man push so far, pretty much, Veko's been doing marvelously, but here comes the cavalry, and let's see if they can hold on to this.
Veko actually could have been caught right in the middle of that abandoned train station there. Hacky, looking around, but German Brait looking the wrong way, hits one shell each, and it's 2 versus 1.
Well, Hacky does get a good bit of damage. He needs to back away from this. He is outnumbered, overmatched. and now Gun. Does he have backup arriving anytime soon? Ruster's out of position a little. Nervex gets found by Elian, splitting down the D-line, looking for the pressure to be applied. Ruster from afar, but you can see CPlay are split up, and Kazna looking to punish this. Elian now comes around looking for more. Elian right in their faces, but Dead Zone has found a little bit of a weak link there. German break goes low. They're being pushed into the sights of Ruster, who's now on reload, has to back out. But the Dead Zone and Hacky moving in from the backside. German break takes another. One more shell will do the job. There we go, delivered, signed and sealed from the Dead Zone. Looking to cause more trouble. There's only 3 of them left. The cap even begins. Kazna on the verge of a victory here. Hacky and co trying to back away, find a couple of seconds time as they need that reload available, and Ruster trying to run back, trying to make sure he resets, but Elian is there. The map that made him infamous from the grand finals. He's the one you don't want up against you. But still, Ruster has to deal with Cobrion and Paluda. And right now, he's going to have a tough time doing so without that reload available just yet, as Crux did find Hacky. It's a 2 against near on the entirety of the opposition.
And it's 3 versus 1 up in the northern corner as well. Elian just comes off reload, as does Ruster, but Elian still got 100% HP. He's going to have a huge advantage.
Oh, Ruster trying to hold back Elian. The cap isn't even the big factor now. It's Elian, and he wants to get the job done. The last man in his way is Ruster. He's the new young gun, the one that we all thought might step up, but he was put down by Elian, who claim HIMMELSDORF as their own, and, well, a stunning performance again from Kazna.
Kazna crew, what can we say? The
Solid.
model of consistency,
Yep.
Nothing special, but solid performance. Saw CPlay's weaknesses as a team, exploited them perfectly. CPlay, last chance saloon was HIMMELSDORF. They had to try something. If it was going to be a draw, it would have been a win for, well, it could have been a draw for Kazna if they did win it on the last map. But still, it would have been very unlikely, as Kazna could have just sat back and camped. So all in all, a strong performance from Kazna crew. CPlay, a couple of interesting tactics. They did very well on Cliff to take down Kazna crew, providing something we've never seen before. The first cap of the tournament also coming underway. So interesting stuff from that team. Going to pose hard questions for TCM later, but at the same time, you know, TCM do look better than CPlay right now, right here. But what can you say about Kazna crew as a top 3 team? It looks like they want to do it.
They just looked so solid. That's the main thing. They just looked comfortable from start to finish. They were pushed a little, as you mentioned, on Cliff. It was because of the unique play coming out from CPlay. They're a young side. They went, all right, let's shake things up. We know how maybe they look back at the VODs and they saw, okay, Virtus.pro went super aggressive against Kazna and it caught them out and it worked. Maybe they thought, okay, let's do that ourselves. Let's embrace that sort of play style and go for something similar but in our own way. And it paid out very nicely. If they could only have found that sort of new play style on the other maps, it would have been great. But they did fall back into their old habits. We saw the same positions from Ruster that worked initially very well. He outstayed his welcome, let's say, on steps, and you saw that Veko and Elian adapted very nicely and came around and punished. And I feel that if they maybe had that extra little bit of an element to them, that little bit extra to kind of add on top of it, I thought we could see a little bit more from them. But they're still a very good side so far.
They were very, very good. As you said, the most important thing to take away from this whole matchup is that the team that innovates wins. Steps 100%. Innovation comes from Kazna crew with Veko and Elian behind that rock to take down Ruster, and then coming from behind because they can only really do one tactic from there.
Yep.
Innovation from CPlay to win it on Cliff was the push into the cap, keep the cross off with the AMX 3090 towards the right side with the ramp going down towards the cap. So really good stuff. And then on HIMMELSDORF, it really was just a game of, you know, Kazna crew holding out to the end, because it would have mean they won it, basically. You get 1 point for a draw. So it would have been 3-1. Easy stuff for Kazna.
And there's a lot of questions we haven't had answered yet from Kazna. Have they got any new tactics they're going to bring out a little later on? Because they were very responsive in their plays, even to CPlay's initial move. So definitely looking forward to seeing Kazna tested a little more. And let's actually hear a word from them on the stage with Mitch.
Thank you very much. I am here on the stage with Hyber. Very vocal, you guys, today. Very loud. It's definitely clear to see that you're here to play. Tell us about that first map. Steps was the first map now. Look, CPlay were very aggressive towards you guys early. You know, Ruster got in position up on the hill, was trying to make some shots towards Elian. And then Elian and Runza sort of joined up together and pushed up. From there, was it CPlay overextending? Or did you guys outmaneuver, just plain?
Actually, I think it was our outmaneuver, because the 3090 position from CPlay, while it's fantastic, that tank is kind of locked. So we just put one fast tank around to have better angle on him. So he would be dead. He had to drop down. And as soon as he lost that high ground position, they were kind of forced to move forward. And then we just rotated a little bit and managed to win.
So essentially, they committed that 1390 to the hill. He was stuck there, and he wasn't able to assist. He couldn't, help rotate really. He was essentially, if he jumped off the hill, he'd get shot, surely.
Yeah. The position is great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but it's limited. It can fight in that area. It prevented us from reaching our initial positions. We were forced to play a little bit more in the back. But once we outmaneuvered him and went around, he was useless there. So we kind of forced their hand a little bit there.
So you definitely displayed that you could outmaneuver a team. On some of the maps, you chose not to sort of move too far. You let CPlay come to you guys, and you sort of used their aggressiveness against them. But let's talk about Cliff. You took 5 1390s. Okay, so four. That's Oliver's fault. But you pushed for the hill. Like, it was definitely, you wanted to get on that hill early on. Did you expect that kind of push coming out from CPlay? Were you prepared for that? Because they were so aggressive on the push and then managed to cut Vetso off as he tried to get shots down. What was going through you guys' head as that happened?
Well, we made a mistake on Cliff. We made a mistake in terms that they had a really heavy lineup, slow lineup. So we knew immediately that they're going to probably be 1-2 line. And once we spotted the only fast tank in their team, our 3090s were kind of still stuck on positions. And then basically we only let Alien defend the cap with help from me from all the way up the hill, and I can't really hit that much. So one of the 3090s from our team should have rotated much sooner above our cap, have a different angle, and protect or kill the T1s. Because if we kill the T1s, we could have probably win it.
Now, obviously, Cliff has changed a bit in this current patch, a little bit of the landscape. Has that changed the approach of teams? Is the strategy very different now, or is it essentially the same kind of approach for you guys?
Well, it's similar still, but a couple of roads on the map are more available, I would say. So that gives you a little bit more options to play with. Instead of before, whoever goes 1-2 line, he immediately loses. So now you have options to go on 3 ways, which is quite better. Honestly.
So I guess, you don't have to just go straight up to the middle and hope to get shots across and then push and get lucky. So that 1-2 line now is sort of a viable push. Thank you very much for that, Hyber, and congratulations. Obviously, the boys will be moving ahead, but we're going to have to pass it over to our analysts here. There's a lot to break down, Dorshan. Let's start us off.
Well, you're right there, Mitch. That was not overly surprising with, I think, 90% of the vote of the public saying that Kazna going to take it. But in the way that they did it, and also the victory that did pop out for CPlay was surprising. Now, if we quickly have a look at our results before you mention it, I do want to say what everyone thought before the match. Now, she's still here. 3-0. 3-0 to Kazna. Almost right. The 1-drop match, not exactly right. 2-3 to Kazna was my result. I didn't think it would be a full draw. I thought one map would be a draw. It ended up not being the case. But both of you two seem to think that CPlay would have won on Sand River. Now, explain your actions, sirs.
Well, CPlay has been training quite a lot. And because they are a really innovative team, thought they could take it. But because of what happened in steps, it kind of forced the hand of CPlay to just try to catch up Kazna, because they lost the first map that was supposed to be just that they feel out each other and played out and then start playing for real. But they lost that, so it kind of forced their hand to play aggressive in the rest of the maps, and, well, it backfired.
So what happened in steps? What went wrong? Carmen, do you know what actually went wrong in steps for them?
For me, this was a bad decision from the guys. They wanted to win the game. They should, stay on the ass, and just because they have like 800 advantage of the first shootings, but they didn't use it. They showed the T1, the Kazna, okay, there is only one T1 on the cap, let's pad our 2, and in the same time the CPlay decided to attack. Bad decision, and Raster had like only 400 HP because of the shots. Like guys said, they know where he is, they outmaneuvered them, they also attacked. In my opinion, mistake. The mistake which, then cost them mines, then cost them aggressive tactic, special tactic for Cliffs, and then, really bad move on the HIMMELSDORF.
Fair enough. But what do you think, Sinisa? What happened?
Like on steps, CPlay definitely had the better positions at the start, but that wasn't enough. Like, they stayed stationary on those positions. So Kazna just went into the middle, took 90% of the map, cut them off of their own cap, and there the problem started for CPlay, and they were forced to do something. So they did actually a wrong move by going forwards. They should have gone backwards.
So they got the advantage, and instead of falling back, it's like, okay, regroup, reload, let's think about things, let's take it slow. I'm going to go and attack instead. And that wasn't the right decision.
Exactly.
They held their ground where they should have fallen back and regrouped. Because it was Elian, I believe, that was caught out. He was the one who took the opening salvo against him, and that was a great start for CPlay.
Yes, for sure, but this map was just, set other maps. But in my opinion, CPlay really wanted to win the steps, and that was their mistakes. They really wanted to start with 1-0. They should start with 1-1. After this, this draw, it will be 1-1. Then you have Mainz, probably draw out, and then you have this special tactic on Cliffs. And we will be now saying that it's 3-2 for CPlay and no Sand River.
Okay, well then, let's have a look at where they did win. They were alive and well on Cliffs. And what was going so well for them on Cliffs? Well, what was the key to their success?
Surprise. It was just surprise. You are not suspecting that somebody will, that hard push. They were training against us, kind of different setup because of the 130-90. It's a they learned that it's a mistake to put only 50-100. This replay, yeah. We are showing now that Veko couldn't have a chance because there were really nice blocking. And also T1 from Pilauda didn't take down the T1s at the beginning. You see that Travis is at 52 HP. Also, Veko didn't connect the shot when they were going to the cap. 369s just outpushed any chance of, getting back. So this is the biggest mistake you can make, that not a mistake. They were not prepared for that. And when you see now this heavy lineup, you will think that, okay, they can cap, and you will act a little bit different. But at the first time when you see it, you are not prepared, you are losing the game. So, like I said, if they will only draw Mainz, it could be quite different. But Mainz, I couldn't understand Mainz. We were talking with Wilkie. Also, I think it was 1 minute too fast attack. Really, because they start attack at 3 minutes. It's small map, and you can always, go to the under cap and start the capping.
Okay, Snissel?
Just wanted to get back at Cliff, because Rasta is really famous for those tactics. Like, just all in, just risk everything, and probably you will gain something from it. Because it wasn't like the best strategy, it's just the surprise factor. Because Kazna could have easily rotated back and got this.
But as they rotated back, they were caught out. We saw, as Oliver pointed out, he said that the very last shot was a pixel shot. There's no way that even with the high ground, the bad gun depression on the AMX for Hyber, he wasn't able to land that shot. Like, almost guaranteed he couldn't land that shot.
Yeah, they did rotations, but it was too late. It was a bit too late. If they just rushed the T69s, it's one. Like, there are just two stopping them from decapping. And they were just shooting the cap, ignoring the T69s, which stopped the only position which can actually decap.
And that's why Raster, played this a lot, and he knew what he was doing, because you cannot, just kill T69 that fast, even with 3090, because it has, 1,350 HP, and it shots 4 times. One track, and you cannot get to the position to the cap, and T69 is already there and blocking. So the change, because the first lineup I saw was with 3 3090s, only 150, 100 going to the cap. And it didn't work because T1 standing in the bush at the A4 already killed both T1s, and all the factor of the capping is done. So they learned how to do it. And like I said, if it will only be better Mainz, because Mainz steps, it was a mistake. But what they done in the Mainz, they just give the win for on the plate. They didn't know where is the 50-100. They never saw him. They also the guys rush it like 3 minutes to the end. You should rush at the 2 minutes. If you are, experienced, you know that you cannot rush it, but it's offline. We must do something. We are losing. Guys, Mainz, our map, we must win it, and this is the reason.
So we see a progression here. So the first map set the tone. They lost steps. They were a bit inexperienced with that map, maybe, and they didn't go back to defend. They didn't regroup. They lost the map control, and then it was a slaughter from that point onwards. But then we look at Mainz. Wilkie, in your opinion, what went wrong for them there?
Well, I have to go with comment that they pushed too early. They had a good idea. It works if you do it properly. They pushed to the enemy cap. They had the crossfire from the hill, so when they pushed back I think it was Alien and IS3, they pushed them back from the corner of their cap, and they started shooting from the hill to the side armors of those 2 tanks, because, okay, you have 2 heavy tanks coming in front of you, so you need to pull back to take cover. Once you shot, you pull back, but they had already tanks shooting their backs from the hill. So it was a good idea, but they didn't go for it. Okay, we want to do this, but let's not do it with the full force. Let's just feel out it, and then it backfired.
So a bit of hesitation in your opinion, Carmen?
A bit of hesitation, also 5100 of German Bratte. This was like, oh my God, he's there. He should be on the other corner of the map. He was there, and it's like, oh, surprise, bad surprise.
And even when they did the push, if they would have done it in 2-minute mark, they would still have the opportunity to draw it out with T1s. So it came back again that they did it too fast.
So CPlay a little bit inexperienced in the format, and it kind of backfired on them. They didn't know kind of how to play the whole set. They had individual map tactics, but the whole how to do a best of 5 was maybe what they're lacking. Maybe the experience of playing in that format, which has caused their strategies to not meld. Maybe they need to improve that for their next game.
I think they should, like Wilkie is a captain. You can ask him. You play best of 5 all the time, but playing best of 5 at offline, you can ask also Schnitzel. It's completely different thing. You think that at online you have this time, to tell that something is not working. So I have 5 minutes more. So we're discussing on the TeamSpeak here. Admin news, go fight. You cannot have a break. And if you are not experienced, and it's also a young team, so maybe afraid they're talking too much. I don't know, but this was too big will to win this game. They should draw it, and this is mistake that you don't have the experience on the LAN, in my opinion.
And of course, for every commander out there, even myself should remember that you don't win the race in the first corner. So.
Yeah.
Don't take too many risks in the first map.
Well, let's see what the world has been saying over in social media. So, Melee, you got a lot of talk about, I'm sure.